Hi, Taylor's First Baptist Church. I'm Michael Rhodes, and I'm really excited to invite you to this workshop on churches that welcome and walk with the economically poor. As I've talked to Pastor Jimenez and Kathy Doherty in your church, I've been really encouraged by your new mission statement that you want to be a church that encounters God, that equips believers, and that engages the world. I hope that our workshop will hit all of those points and really be an opportunity for us to encounter the God in the good news of His kingdom gospel that goes out to the marginalized, that equips us as His people to serve effectively among those who are struggling economically, and that helps us to engage His world for His glory and for His kingdom. You know, for a lot of people who grew up like me in sort of an upper middle class environment, when we finally hear, as I'm sure many of you have heard, that God wants us to care about the economically poor, that really makes sense to us because, well, yeah, I've got, ideas and passions and interests and gifts. But the problem with that is not only that it's extremely prideful, but what comes out of that mindset is kind of like a soup kitchen, where we sort of imagine that we're on one side with resources and abilities, and on the other side are needy people, and they sort of come through the line, and we stay over here and they stay over there, and we sort of ladle out our resources into their bowls. But when we look at the biblical vision, the metaphor, the picture that we get, it isn't a soup kitchen, it's more like a potluck supper. At a potluck, everybody brings a plate, everybody gives, and everybody receives. God's vision is that we become a community and a people where every single person is contributing. For us to create this potluck, then those of us who have material resources and education and who look good on paper, we have to learn that we have brokennesses and we have needs. We have to receive plates at this potluck. And then the other thing that has to happen is that the people who are typically on the margins, we have to invite them and make it possible for them to bring their gifts and their abilities and their talents to bring a plate. And I'm excited for us to share about how in our respective cities we can enter into this movement of God's kingdom as God heals and reconciles all things through His Son Jesus. And so one of the things I want to do on Friday night is say, what are the sort of key biblical themes around God's economy? We'll talk about how business owners and churches are finding ways to hire people with felony records in their businesses. We'll talk about ways that families are finding ways to invest in entrepreneurs in low-income communities. But on Saturday, we're also going to be talking about what has to happen as a church, within a family, if we want to become the sort of people who can welcome and walk with the economically poor. And that'll involve talking about how do we lay aside our own brokenness. We have to acknowledge that the way that our brokenness often plays out is by trying to play God in the lives of poor people. And when we try to play God in the lives of poor people, we hurt those we're trying to help, but we also hurt ourselves because we become less and less like Jesus and we close ourselves off to the change that He's calling us to experience in our own lives.